Sometimes you don't realize how much a TV show means to you until a few hours after the series finale. The saddest TV finales become even more tragic once it hits you that the whole show is over and there are no more episodes to redeem the one you just watched. Here are the best TV series finales that you definitely sobbed through. Mad Men. Last episode, Person to Person. After 92 episodes of emotional turmoil caused by a man who, at most times, tries his very best to reject the idea that he feels emotions at all, we are left feeling the same sort of emptiness that Don Draper has felt all along. We all watched the show celebrating the moments that Don acted like a real person for once, and then crashing down with him as soon as he gave into his old demons once again. We hoped, just maybe, the final episode would bring him the epiphanies he had apparently been seeking. However, it appears that these epiphanies may have just filtered themselves into the season's final. Battlestar Galactica. Last episode, Daybreak. The final episode of the science fiction phenomenon Battlestar Galactica fulfills the show's original premise, finding a home, finding Earth. As emotional as that moment is, what really hits the viewer is the final moments between Roslin and Adma. Despite the many romantic pairings on the show, their love was the strongest. Their last moments together, flying over the lush and vital fields of Earth as Adma tells Roslin about the cabin they're going to build together and the garden she'll tend to, are some of the most heartbreaking moments in a series that was already pretty bleak. Lost. Last episode, The End. Although many fans feel the Lost series finale could have resolved more of the island's mysteries, most fans believe the show did its characters justice. Seeing couples like Juliet and Sawyer and Jin and Sun reunite made our eyes well up with happy tears. What hit fans the hardest was when Vincent laid next to Jack, mirroring one of the first scenes of the series and bringing the show full circle. How I Met Your Mother. Last episode, Last Forever, Part 2. Like several other series finales, How I Met Your Mother gives the viewers a glimpse of the characters' futures. There are several emotional scenes. Lily cries through her goodbyes to Ted and Robin. Barney tells his newborn daughter that she is the love of his life. And of course, we learn the truth about Ted's wife, the mother. 6 Feet Under. Last episode, Everyone's Waiting. Set to the wistful song Breathe Me by Sia, the last 7 minutes of the 6 Feet Under series are some of the most moving and beautiful moments in television. The series focuses on a family who runs a funeral home, so every episode of its 5-season run began with a random person's death. In the last minutes of the final, the show flashes forward and reveals how each of the main characters die. Some of the deaths are surprising, some are silly, but each one hits you in the heart, leaving you sobbing long after the credits have rolled. Gilmore Girls. Last episode, Bon Voyage. The Gilmore Girls final ends the way the series started, in Luke's diner. Luke opens his diner early so Rory can have one more breakfast before she heads off to cover Barack Obama's presidential campaign. The town throws Rory a surprise going-away party and Richard tells Lorelai this party's a testament to you, and the home you've created here. It gives Lorelai, and the viewers, the validation she's always wanted from her parents. We also see the rekindling of Luke and Lorelai's relationship, which no doubt made every viewer's heart leap with joy. Parks and Recreation. Last episode, One Last Ride. Parks and Recreation, everyone's favorite feel-good sitcom about government employees, had a series finale that was as heartwarming as you'd expect. And returns, Andy and April have a baby, Gary becomes mayor, Tom and Donna find success in new careers, Ron finds a job he actually enjoys doing, and Leslie most likely fulfills her lifelong dream of becoming the President of the United States. Seeing these characters get what they always wanted was incredibly rewarding, and it made viewers cry tears of joy. Breaking Bad. Last episode, Felina. Often hailed one of the most perfect series finales in television history, Breaking Bad's Felina is also one of the saddest. This episode is filled with heartbreaking moments for most of the main characters. We see Skyler crying as Walt strokes his daughter's face for the last time. We see Jesse, finally free, driving off screaming and crying tears of joy. And we see Walt flat on his back, bleeding out, surrounded by his true love, the cook. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Last episode chosen. The final episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer punches you in the gut in typical Whedon fashion with some major character deaths, but not all the tears for this episode are sad. Buffy delivers a powerful speech to the potential Slayers, telling them, from now on, every girl in the world who might be a Slayer, will be a Slayer. Every girl who could have the power, will have the power. Buffy had been grappling with her role as the Chosen One since the very first episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and to see her take on the mantle of the leader and empower her fellow Slayers hits you in the feels and leaves your crying proud tears. Cheers. Last episode one for the road. There are a lot of tearjerker moments in the Cheers series finale, small moments like Sam adjusting Nick Colasanto's picture and larger moments like the final scene of the show. After serving Norm for the last time, there's a knock on the bar's door. Instead of answering it, Sam says, "Sorry, we are closed," hammering home the end of this beloved sitcom. Futurama. Last episode meanwhile. The final episode of Futurama sees Fry and Leela finally getting married. In true Futurama fashion, science fiction hijinks ensue and Fry and Leela end up in a world where time has stopped for everyone but them. They travel the world, growing old together until the professor appears and offers them a way to go back in time. Fry asks Leela if she wants to go around again, and she says, "I do." And the fans sob with joy. Scrubs. Last episode my final. The Scrubs series final was every bit as sentimental as fans needed it to be. Characters say their goodbyes, and we get a flash-forward montage of milestones in the characters' lives. We see JD and Elliot get married, Turk and JD rejoicing over the prospect of their kids getting married, and a Christmas party with all of the main characters. Happy tears abound. The Office. Last episode final. The Office final captures the heart of the series, managing to be sweet, funny, and weird at the same time. Almost everyone got their happily ever after, and in true Dunder Mifflin fashion, each character looked straight into the camera and told you what it all meant to them. It was heartfelt and heartwarming. Friends. Last episode, the last one. Saying goodbye to Friends was like saying goodbye to your baby blanket, the one you secretly took with you to sleepovers to make you feel safe. Over the course of 10 seasons, the characters in Friends became our family, and seeing the apartment stripped of its colorful kitchenware and furniture left fans feeling as empty as the apartment. MASH. Last episode goodbye, farewell and amen. The last episode of is set during the final days of the Korean War. It's a bittersweet 2-hour-long ending that shows the viewer how all the characters were affected by the war. While there's a shocking revelation about a traumatic event in Pierce's past, the saddest moment is probably the final shots of the show as Pierce and Honeycutt say their goodbyes. Honeycutt rides off on his motorcycle, telling Pierce he left him a note. Pierce boards a helicopter, and as it ascends, we see the word goodbye spelled out in stones. Boy Meets World. Last episode Brave New World, Part 2. In the final episode of Boy Meets World, Corey, Sean, Topanga, and Eric say goodbye to the man who shaped and inspired them, Mr. Feeney. It's an emotional goodbye as each of them thank their mentor for everything he's done for them, especially for pushing them to be better people. By the time Mr. Feeney utters the final word of the series, class dismissed, there isn't a dry eye in the house. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Last episode done. Just as Will wasn't ready to say goodbye to his family, we weren't ready to say goodbye to Will and the Banks family. The series finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air delivers an emotional send-off for the characters we came to love, the most emotional of which is probably Uncle Phil telling Will, "You are my son." End of story. When you watch a show week after week, year after year, they become your family. And their goodbyes are your goodbyes. Thank you and keep watching for more videos.